Hello, hello everyone. I'm Krasi and Zorina Dimitrova is with me from Heal and Learn channel, and today we will be talking about astrology and global world economy in 2020. We will look from astrological perspective, of course, but also from the business perspective of Zori, because you know she's a coach from the web portal Heal and Learn. So hello, Zori. Nice to see
Hi,
you again and
Krasi.
have live. Hi. Zori,
Thanks
do you
for
see
having me again.
Pleasure. We're forming a very good team. Zori, do you see really if we're live? People say yes. Okay, wonderful. I'm doing these questions.
No, I'm still waiting to see whether we're live.
Okay.
I see we're live. Unfortunately, I believe that we are still linked to the other video.
We are.
No, astrology and global world economy. Yep, we're live in the right place. Yes.
Are we? All right. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be speaking from sidereal astrological perspective, which is the astronomical perspective, which is exactly literally what is happening on the sky. We will look from cyclic point of view. I will share my astrological charts, and then of course Zori will add up with her business knowledge and what to do with the findings that we will discuss today related to the global world economic events that may take place. We will start, Zori, with logically with the chart of the astronomical new year, which is when I'm repeating this every time, but this is the most relevant position. So we will be talking about the horoscope of the year to come, year 2020. And you know that the horoscope starts, the birth chart of the year to come is, according to the Sumerians, the most ancient known to us astrological civilization. It is when the moon entered the point of the vernal equinox before the sun entered this point. So this was around the 6 degrees Pisces. We will see what is this showing us. Of course, then we will talk about Jupiter-Saturn conjunction taking place partially somewhere in May, but the exact conjunction, I have the chart. It is taking place in December. Two other events are very important, and this is the invisibility of Venus when she's becoming invisible, she's becoming Ereshkigal. Then this will change the view of the markets, of course. Also we'll talk when she becomes visible. And another thing that we'll be discussing is when we're having this major retrograde situation on the sky, when we'll be having Jupiter and Saturn retrograde, but in the very same moment Venus and Mars and all these events. I have the charts of each one of them. We'll be showing them, and we together with you will discuss. And in the meantime, people who are watching us, we didn't announce it, but I prefer it to be like this. People who are watching may ask questions in the meantime. I hope you can see the questions. I don't know why I don't see. Let me see if I see.
I see only one person live, but maybe I'm. The thing is, it's still showing. No, we are live. Only it's taking the manifestation rituals thumbnail, but still we are live in astrology and global world economy, but with the old thumbnail of the video.
Oh no, it has a new. I see it. It's new. It's okay.
Okay.
All right. So what shall we do? Zori, if you want, I will share my screen. I will show the chart, then we discuss. Share screen. All right. In a very little second, I want to show you. Yeah.
While you're sharing, I just want to mention that I'm not I am not an economics analyst, so I don't analyze markets. I'm just going to talk from my basic observation of news and, when I've observed what's going on, for example, with the prices of gold, stock prices, some decisions on the Fed and things like that, things that I'm observing on the news, but I'm again mentioning that I'm not an analyst. I'm just going to try and combine the knowledge that I've gathered with the information you're going to be providing with the charts.
Yes, and since you're doing business coaching, I want to ask you later on to advise with this specific situation that we will see astrologically, what would be the right business or the right approach or remedies. This we do usually with you, so I hope we will do today as well. So let me share you the chart. So look what we have here. First of all, this is the chart of the vernal equinox. This is the most important chart. This chart was always used when looking at important global prediction of events. Now, to tell you also what I didn't know, but I found out when I was looking back to see how Jupiter-Saturn conjunction was seen historically. Actually, always in the ancient times, and when we look at authors, very famous authors like Mashawa, Abu Mashar, they would always take Jupiter-Saturn conjunction when they would do historical or world predictions astrologically. Yeah, they would always take, because astrology is cyclic. Before we go to this very, very important event, let's look again, we need to, at this chart. Now, what we have in here, the usual stuff, we have the sun, which just before entering the point of the vernal equinox, which is always happening in Pisces. And then we have, of course, the moon, which appears statistically always in nearly the same position, which is 5 or 6 degrees Pisces. This is the usual situation. The moon is showing up on 1st of Nisan, and the first lunar month is month of Nisan. What is interesting here is that in this very moment, look what is happening. We're having Mercury not only invisible, it's normal that he will be invisible, but he's retrograde. Also, we're having Mars, Jupiter, Pluto conjunction in the sign of Sagittarius, and we're having Saturn in the first degrees of Capricorn, and notice Saturn is invisible. So we have invisibility of Saturn, and Saturn, when we're talking about historical world events, is a major player, of course. He's very, very important. Saturn is invisible. The one who is ruling the rulership, the kings, the power, the royal power, the karma, Saturn, who is invisible. Just to say 2 words, that when a planet is invisible, the planet has very different nature. And when Saturn is invisible, literally the things go in a secretive matter. Saturn is about secrecy. Saturn is about the difficult lessons that we receive in life, but he's about secrecy. And when he's ruling the rulers in the society, when he's invisible, I don't see this as a very good sign. In the same mode, we have Pluto in the very last degrees of Sagittarius, and we know that when a planet is in the last degrees of Sagittarius, this has influence already on the next sign. So I see also this as Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and it is because the constellation of the Capricorn, the goldfish, is quite large. It's taking part also of the sign of Sagittarius. So actually, this is literally a conjunction, Pluto-Saturn conjunction on the day of the equinox, and Mars, Jupiter, Pluto is something which cannot be easy. It is really power game. It is really exercising power coming from the ruling class, with Ketu, who is explosive with this, and in the invisibility of Saturn is showing these hidden games. And here we see Mercury retrograde. This is natural on this day, because with the sun, Mercury, and he's almost all the time invisible, often retrograde. So this is not impossible in rare situation, but still happening on the 1st of Nisan, you see. And we're having Moon with Venus together. Venus exalted is fine. She's like our hope. She's the one that is maybe giving the hopes. How do you see this economically, worldwide, in relation to influences? How do you see this, Zori?
Well, the thing is, when we see an annual chart, yeah, it shows what's going forward, but there were certain things that have been going on for a while now, and it's not a snapshot that is happening and starting from this moment onwards. Things have been going on for a while and developing. Like in the past 7 or 8 years, if you think about it, the governments, especially in Europe, have been going more and more, and not only in Europe. If you think about Trump, if you think about Boris Johnson, they're going more center-right. So this is more talking about what is going to happen in Capricorn, because Capricorn corresponds to these values of center-right, of more nationalistic views and so on. So this has been a preparation. You know, these are things that have been going on for 7 or 8 years. But practically every government in Europe now has a center-right or rightist party in their government. They're still, you know, a minority in most governments, but they're present, while before it was not the case. So we're definitely seeing a move towards more nationalistic views. And now the whole thing with this coronavirus, now I'm jumping a bit, but there are a lot of things that fit together.
Oh, майко ми ще пусне live сега. Yes, sorry, yes. Apologies. Okay. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So the whole thing with the coronavirus now is that, you know, 50% of the factories in China are on hold. And so this naturally means that supply chains are disrupted in Europe as well, because Italy supplies a lot of technology and automotive parts. So the whole supply chain of factories that operate in Austria and Germany, on the Balkans, it's all disrupted now. So this would naturally mean that in a hurry to save their economies, all countries will move more towards nationalistic, you know, national production. So the whole movement of globalization is somehow contracting. This will not reverse. Even if the coronavirus ends next month completely, this trend has already begun, and governments know that this can repeat. So they will take measures to protect their economies. So this movement towards relying on national powers is a fact. And what else did I want to say? Another proof of the move away from globalization is actually the stocking up with gold. And this is a completely different topic, and it's a very wide topic, but I'm still going to insert it a little bit here, and then we'll decide whether we talk more about gold or not. But a lot of governments have been stocking up with gold, and supposedly because they want to move away from the domination of the US dollar, because you know, gold provides a lot of security. It's used as a security investment. So 50% of all the gold is purchased by national banks. And the ones that have been purchasing the most are developing countries, and developing are not developing anymore. China, Russia, Turkey, and there was another one. These are the major buyers of gold. And so these countries have been stocking up with gold a lot recently. And now the prices of gold are exploding, of course, because of the coronavirus. Everybody's looking for a safe haven.
But sorry, wasn't this a part of the global plan? Because if you remember, when we looked at the chart of the coronavirus, then we had the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and we had this very difficult position of Mars. Mars is always ruling the viruses, always in the epidemics. Mars was conjoined Antares.
And especially with Ketu.
Especially yes, Ketu. Exactly, yes, indeed. So, so this was planned scenario, of course, and all this what you're saying is like follow up of this planned scenario, which if we look before this chart which I'm showing you, we had the chart of the coronavirus, because you look at medical charts not from the moment when we really think it might have started, but at the moment when it was announced officially. So this is the birthday, unfortunately, of the event, and this was December, some end of December, I think it was the chart, and when you had the exact conjunction Saturn-Pluto. and Mars in Antares, so and Ketu in this position. So this was planned scenario, and Saturn Pluto conjunction is another cycle, heavy cycle.
You know, these have been trends that have been going on for a while, also in astrology. So,
yes.
You know, the elites anyhow understand astrology. So whether you consider it a coincidence because it's in astrology or planned, you can't say that. Whether, I mean, yes, you can see it in the chart. If it's Saturn, Pluto standing on the position where we analyzed at the beginning of the year, and we said there's a lot of hidden agenda from the governments. We discussed this then. Yeah, we can't say for sure. Of course, there are a lot of conspiracy theories that explain how this could have come to life. But I am not a professional or an expert on that to be talking about it.
No, we're not. Yes, we're having here similar situation of power. You have Jupiter, Mars, Jupiter, Pluto, Mars. Usually, we know that very important. One of them, you know, the nature of Antares, the star which is considered difficult but royal and star of power, has the nature of Jupiter, Mars, and this is in the royal star Antares in the 15 degrees of Scorpio, in the belly of the celestial Scorpion. So this is about deep, you know, power in a scorpionic way, the one that can arise like a thunderstorm, or that can arise like you know, after certain after being cooked for a very long time, it just can come up suddenly. So this is how this particular energies can look like. And in this very day of the vernal equinox, because this is the chart of the world, this is the chart of the astronomical year, this is the horoscope. And when we look at the point at the position of Mercury retrograde, certainly this will influence communication, connectivity, you know, transportation, like what is happening now, the complete communication between people, between countries, like exactly what we see now. And this is the chart of 25th of February. If we look a bit further,
restriction in travel as well. Restriction in travel.
Or just our major confusion. Mercury is not that bad in Aquarius. He's in own triplicity, because you see he's trining his own sign. Bad he is not. So maybe not yet restriction. He is not even squared by Mars but maybe major confusion or major, I'm not sure what, but some problems. And this is now the horoscope of when the planets are turning retrograde. First, I think it was Jupiter who is turning retrograde. When was this?
Krasi, may I interrupt you for just a second?
Yeah, please.
If you could check if the chat is enabled, because I don't see anything at the moment, and I think we might have the same problem as last time.
Give me a second. Okay. Let me see, what is the situation? Oh, this thing is putting the same, using indeed the... Sorry, trying to enable the chat. Apologies for this. In the meantime,
maybe,
yes.
Yeah, I can bring up some news and try to analyze them, although, you know, nobody knows the whole truth. It's just a trial what I'm doing here. But you've probably heard that the Fed announced that they're cutting interest rates. And at the beginning of the year, when Krasi and I made the video, I was talking about major inflation indicated by Neptune. So we were talking about that. And yes, you would say it's been expected since last summer. It's been talked about, but now it's really visible. Now it's happening. So it's not yet quantitative easing, but it's coming close. So what could happen, and what we discussed yesterday with Krasi when we were talking a bit about the content of this video, was that somewhere around May, there would be a negative effect on the prices of real estate. So this could be speaking about a real estate bubble that is being created right now. So let me lead you through the steps of how this will happen in practice, or how this could play out. So the Fed decreases the interest rates, which means that now people think they can afford mortgages more. And with sorry for a second, I just saw that the comments were turned off again.
Off? No, they are on. They should be on.
Not yet. And so the increase in easy lending will, of course, bring another housing bubble potentially, which will eventually could burst at around May time. When you, Krasi, said Venus would go invisible?
Well, real estate, I think, comments are on, should be on. Yeah. So what the thing with, when we'll be having, that's why, let me show you again my, I think when you look at this chart, this is when the planets are turning retrograde in the middle of May. Oh, this is starting. Very important is the position. Saturn is ruling real estate. Look what is happening. Saturn, Jupiter, the Moon are turning retrograde almost in the same time, almost, because Jupiter, a few days after Jupiter is turning retrograde. And this...
Oh God, I am really sorry for interrupting, but it seems that we are on both videos streaming live, and chat is enabled on only one of the videos, and there are 27 people there and 45 people or something on the other video. So if you could check on Krasi's channel, and if you'd like to post a comment, just move to the other video where we're also live. It's also, I apologize because it's also my technology misunderstanding here of how we set it up.
Don't know what is.
I think it's okay to stay in one chat, otherwise I will have to swap between two chats.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I can't fix this anymore for now.
No problem. It's okay. Let's go on.
Yes, so I wanted to tell you about this particular conjunction, Jupiter-Saturn. Now, this for sure will influence the real estate market for bet. Yes, Neptune, what you're saying, it's another story, but also look, when Saturn is turning retrograde, he's becoming very difficult, very, very, very slow. And especially when he will be a few days stationary, and in the middle of May, and I can tell you exactly the date, 19 or something, Saturn is turning retrograde, and he's also influencing immediately Cancer, which is the real estate, Cancer, the home, and he's ruling himself the land. So this will have not positive impact on the prices, of course, of the real estate market. This will be during all this entire period until I will tell you when he's becoming 10th of October, Saturn is becoming direct and Jupiter is becoming direct in September. I think it was, I can tell you when, 17th of September, Jupiter is becoming direct. So this is this for sure. This will have negative impact for sure. And yes, well, it's.
But also because we don't really know what the consequences would be of the coronavirus on employment. We might end up with people taking new mortgages and refinancing and all of that, and not being able to meet their debt in the end due to the coronavirus. It's we really don't know how it's going to play out. And here we have some comments. Gold prices are exploding. They went from 1,200 to 1,500, now above 1,600. So yeah, lots of people are confirming. The stock market just fell 1,000 points. Really? We
yes.
have to check that. Wow.
Yes, this is planned already. And now when we look at this moment, when Venus is becoming invisible, and she's becoming invisible on the 13th of May. So you can see May and then she becomes visible on 16th of June, and around approximately, because we have a bit of different points of view from the different locations on the Earth, but this is approximately the situation. And when she's becoming invisible, and then she will change completely after that, her nature. When she becomes visible, she will be already morning star. It's complete change. You know what? Mars and Venus are influencing powerfully the market because they are personal planets, and we know it's not a secret that the markets are the market movement is result of
sentiment.
Yeah. Exactly. So when Venus is completely changing, and when she becomes invisible, and people lose her, the joy that she's bringing them, hope, joy, beauty in terms of senses and emotions, and Mars will be squaring her all the time, which is total volatility of emotions. And as a result on the markets, you can imagine what's going to happen during this period. Look, this is at the moment when she's becoming invisible. And also already Jupiter and Saturn will be retrograde in the first degrees of Capricorn. And also this is where she's turning invisible, is a point when on 5th of or 6th of June, we're again going to have the eclipse, the lunar eclipse on this axis. And the eclipses it's proven they influence the markets. Some say that the eclipses influence the markets for good. I don't agree with this, because at the moment they can cause sudden change, but when you see with long distant plan, they actually can have ruining effect. So was the case with the December eclipse, who was the last drop, in this particular and I said, when I was analyzing the eclipse, I said this particular eclipse is happening in certain watch, which is always related to diseases. I didn't expect such a major thing, but the ancients would say this is disease. And we're having here a Venus, which will be unfortunately eclipsed. So this is not good for the market. This can go even further with this recession news and stuff. It's really not good.
Mm-hmm. There are more and more talks about the importance of growth, because we are talking a lot about the world in general. We're focusing too much on economic growth. Growth of companies, growth of revenues, growth on the stock market. Everything is all about growth. And for years now, economists and scholars have been thinking, do we really need so much growth? Because there's been tremendous growth in the US since the 60s. I think it grew 5 times, the economy, since the 60s, but at the same time, the happiness index of the US is miserable. I wouldn't say miserable, but it doesn't come close to the results in economic growth.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So in the end, we as society are measuring the wrong thing, because and even the explanations that are given by economists, for me they're valid less and less. They were not valid even before, but now they're so transparent that there's they're even not logical anymore. Because one of the reasons why they say growth is important is that wealth creation can be redistributed to the poor, which we know now that it never happens.
Of course.
That wealth creation and growth goes again to the pocket of the ones that are to the full pocket. Yeah.
Look what is happening here. Venus is appearing for her first day appearance is in the vicinity of Aldebaran, the star which is directly related to wealth and nothing else. It's about wealth. She's appearing for the first time in this particular star, and she's receiving the harmonious trine aspect from the retrograde Jupiter and Saturn. To me, this is not bad. To me, this can bring some most probably retrograde. Could be that we turn to past historically proven knowledge related to economy, markets, something out, because look what is happening. She's appearing, pointing towards wealth, and she's retrograde though. So she's showing something from the past, you see, because the same thing is
happening. That this is, Krasi, this is the exact degree when the gold standard was created in 1861. I just
amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
Is this the 13th degree of
yeah,
of Taurus?
13.
Yeah, I will show you later on.
Amazing.
Reminds me, yes.
Amazing. And not only the sun and Saturn and Jupiter have impact on gold, of course Venus, because she's all the beauty, she's also gold. Yes, it could be very, very true, but also this is something that is happening together with Jupiter, Saturn, and by the way, Pluto, he's also retro, as you can see. Saturn, Jupiter together in the sign of Capricorn, and maybe now is, yeah, there will be something that will come back from the past, and maybe for good. Let's hope. But this is the appearance of Venus, and Venus is appearing in Taurus, in her own sign. So this could be good. We'll see. Happens on the day when the sun is entering the point, the sign, which is marked with the summer solstice. So we are pointing towards another beginning, maybe. And of course, when we look at horoscopes of the world, mundane horoscopes, we look at two important days. We know we were talking last time with you about the Akitu festivals. There are two, one is happening when the moon is showing up in the point of the vernal equinox, which is Pisces, and then the second Akitu festival is the point of the autumn equinox, which is of course when the moon is appearing for the first time in Virgo. So but this is also important point, of course, with the solstices. All these 4 points, solstices and equinoxes, are considered super important by the ancients. These are the tropical points, so they were called, especially the 2 equinoxes, not the solstices only, but this is very, very, very important. Since we mentioned Saturn Jupiter conjunction, let's talk about this conjunction. I want you to tell me, because I know you had some findings, very interesting. I just want to show you the date. Here is the date. Look at the exact conjunction, 21st of December, 2020, month of Tebet, Babylonian month of Tebet. But here, I want to tell you the significance of this historically. I didn't imagine this was used so much by ancient authors. When they would look at mundane astrology, they would first take into consideration Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. So this conjunction is happening approximately every 20 years. And it is connecting 2/3 from the circle, from this 360 degrees circle of the zodiac. So 240 degrees, that is where they meet. So you know that the Saturn period, when he makes one complete revolution, is 30 years, though the Jupiter is making a complete circle over the zodiac for 12 years. So after 20 years, Saturn would complete the 240 degrees out of the 360 degree circle, right? I think it's simple. Though Jupiter will make 2/3 of his second revolution, 8 years. This is why usually this conjunction, this is important now, Zori, these conjunctions are happening usually in the same fire or yes, it's happening in the same, yes, in the same either the fire sign element, excuse me, yes, stupid. So it's happening usually.
Is it called triplicity?
No, it's happening, yet it's triplicity, but it's happening usually in the same triplicity, yes, exactly, in the same elements. What we're having now is that this time they're meeting in another element. So the last meeting which they had was in the fire triplicity, in the fire elements. And historically great authors like Abu Mashar, Mashawa, and others, but these are the main which are really truly amazing. They always say something very, it is like the events that take place are so major with the you know, with the importance of the birth of Jesus. Such it is considered not only not as a soul element, but it's considered that he was born, and also around such conjunction. Also, there were other important events, but always when this conjunction is happening, but in another triplicity, in another element. The last one happened in Aries. The next one is happening in Capricorn. So when this conjunction is happening and there is a change of the elements of the triplicity, major shifts are taking place, which are valid for the next 20 years.
9/11.
9/11.
9/11, and also the last time that it was in Aries as well was in 1941, when the US entered the Second World War with Pearl Harbor. So this was another time when it changed triplicity and it went into Aries.
See, when it, because usually because of the way it moves, the two planets, usually they meet in the same triplicity, but now they change triplicity, like it will be major shift. The shift will be major. Well, yes.
I wanted to comment here on one of the comments, which was they want to create a cashless society as well. This was regarding the discussion that we just had about the gold. And I'm just gonna, share my thoughts with you. I have no clue how to back them up, but it's just a proposal of a potential thing that could develop. I'm very well aware that we might all soon move to Jesus, what are these currencies called?
You mean probably the
currencies, Bitcoin.
Bitcoins, yes, the internet currencies, yes.
It's funny, we discussed it so much. Cryptocurrencies.
Yeah. The cryptos.
Cryptos, yeah. So this is clear, but I was thinking, how would this be tied to the traditional view of what Venus, or is it Venus in Taurus, the graph that you showed before at 13 degrees, the one that coincided with the introduction of the gold standard? It could be an introduction of a completely different standard of money.
Yes, sorry, but it somehow will be related to old practices in a way, because look, they're all retro. They're all repeating something.
Back in the day, before 1939, I believe, when the first time that the gold was untied from the dollar. So this is when America was able to start printing money in order to recover from the Great Depression. I lost my train of thought, but I wanted to say that back in the day, so in 1981, when we had the same conjunction, when gold was introduced for the first time, there was no talk about growth in money, so money printing. So what I'm thinking about the cashless currencies and the traditional view is, I don't know if you've heard about tokens, which are similar to cryptocurrencies, only they represent a fraction of something. They could be like a share of a building, or they could be a share of a gold coin. So these are tokens that are actually electronic currency. So just the supposition that this could be something along the lines that could happen, something combining cashless and an old practice.
Yes, yes, because they will definitely look towards something else, because yeah, this is something very. It's not without a reason that she's becoming visible, retrograde, and aspecting them in a trine. So let's see. Of course, Mars is here also to create the square, which could be related to people's reaction, the volatility of the markets related to people's insecurity, maybe. This is very possible as well. If we look back on this conjunction, it is happening, the exact degree of the conjunction. So this is the exact chart. And it is like, how interesting, you know, when we look at horary astrology, Zori, there is something very interesting. It is about when you have a question and when you see the chart in the last degrees. Of course, well, this is mundane chart, let's say, and we cannot apply horary astrology, but why not? We can apply everything. So, and we're having the 30th degrees of the sign of Gemini. First of all, the last degrees are never good because they're always ruled by malefic planets. The last degrees. This is the last degrees are either ruled by Saturn or Mars. Term, Hermetic Egyptian term. And when we're having here on the ascendant the very last term, and what to tell you, this is malefic. And in the horary astrology, we also say something like the matter is finished or not to discuss, or it's ended, or it's something that is already decided. So it's something like the things are decided, pre-decided. I don't know how to analyze this, but in any case, the last degrees, especially the last 3 degrees, are always malefic. They're not auspicious. This is one thing. And yes, this is not very positive. But on the other hand, you see at the very moment of this conjunction, you have here the moon appears in the 2nd degree, in the 3rd degrees of Pisces. Again, this is the degree of the equinox. When the degree of the equinox is activated, we're talking here about something that is having the role of historical importance, historical significance. It's like if you look at the politics, the people who are bad or good, usually they're nowadays, because of the era we live in, the Martian era, they're all over the world corrupted. There is not even one that is clean. But if you look at their horoscopes, they would have, there is a way to look at the syzygy point and so on, but they have some certain importance on the era. So activated point of the equinoxes or the solstices on their horoscope in a way. I've seen this on politician charts. So if they are allowed to rule, they are not good, but it is something that is allowed by God, by the creator. So whatever it is, that's it. The situation is perfect, in other words. So what we have here again, look, we're having at the very moment of Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, this is the conjunction to a degree, we do have the moon appearing in the point of the vernal equinox. It's something pre-decided by God. It's something that is supposed to happen. It's something that is part of the destinies of each one of us. It's important, very, very important thing that is going to happen. Very, for sure. For sure, yes. Look, exact sextile with the moon, and the moon is in the point of the vernal equinox. Key important. Venus is making trine, as you can see, hopefully for good. And Mars is in the very last degrees of Pisces. When Mars is above the moon, well, it's not benefic. This is the 10th house. People's careers with Mars, people's jobs, people's hopes, their plans. This will work directly. This will influence them. This will change people's plans in general. It's like whatever. It's like this saying, you can plan as much as you want, but this is funny because only one is planning.
Make plans and let God laugh at you.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but we could suggest what it could be when it's in Capricorn.
Oh yeah.
Let me just check very quickly. Maybe I can share briefly my screen because I have some charts of previous conjunctions of Jupiter and Saturn, and we can see what happened back then and just suppose what could happen with this one.
Oh yes, very interesting. Go ahead. In the meantime, I'm trying to enter to see if people are asking questions, if we can.
Yeah.
I hope I can. Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay, so this is what I meant here. This was the first time when gold was established, 1861. So
Okay.
what I noticed was indeed there was something around the 13th degree of Taurus, but it was Uranus. I don't know how this is related to gold.
Uranus is bringing the great changes, but look what is interesting. Venus is in the opposite degree, in Antares. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder what this would be meaning, because Venus of this date will be making opposition to Venus on the chart of the gold.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, of the first introduction of the gold. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Shall we quickly browse through the events and the conjunctions and see what we can? Establishment of the Fed. This has nothing to do with Jupiter and Saturn. I just wanted to include it to see if we see any trends there. But I guess I'll just skip through.
Yes.
This is Jupiter Saturn before
1941.
This is the one that I mentioned when they conjunct it again in Aries. Before the US entered the Second World War.
And imagine if such great change happened when they were in Aries, and now they're changing triplicity. They're entering another sign, Earth sign. You can imagine the change that is going to follow for the next 20 years, because they're marking a cycle of 20 years. We explained why.
So the next one is the Kennedy story.
1941.
No, sorry, this one is Pearl Harbor. No, I haven't. I've missed it. I don't have it here. This is a presentation about gold. It was not really about the
end of gold standard. Look, end of gold standard. Saturn is in the vicinity of Aldebaran, where Venus will appear now heliacally. Well, this is something interesting. This is the end of the gold standard. See, Saturn is here, where Venus will going to show up in June.
Right, and the one who dissolved it was Neptune and Jupiter together. So great dissolution of the gold standard that was created here around this area. Yeah, that's quite interesting. So there were 3 conjunctions in 81, and I've looked at the third one, establishment of the Gold Commission. This was all related to gold, but this conversation is not necessarily about gold. This was again a change in sign. This was but not a change in triplicity, because the previous one was in Capricorn as well.
Okay.
So this is Virgo here. So nothing too major happened. I'm missing a few.
In 1981, well, yeah, I haven't checked this year, so I can speak. I know that the huge worldwide changes happened when Saturn completed his revolution and entered Capricorn. You know what happened on the Balkans? I made a separate video on this. I don't remember exactly the events anymore, but you remember what happened. The Berlin Wall and all this was related to Saturn entering his own sign. On the top of this, we're having Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. Saturn already started, like he was the one who is marking the big change. And we're having, yeah, you get the same, almost the same chart, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, we can switch to yours because it's more detailed. I don't know, shall we look at some questions?
Please, yes, I tried to do this and then I lost the exit full screen. Okay.
Okay, let me go back.
Coronavirus is spread by money.
Yeah, the people want to know about the coronavirus, how it will develop.
Yes, yes, the coronavirus. See, this is interesting. Zori, I don't know. Yeah, okay. Coronavirus. I was making a separate video on this, and I'll tell you what my opinion is. Maybe I can find the chart that I was showing, but I will tell you. Like we started with this already, but let's say 2 words again. Now, the coronavirus, the chart of the virus had Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And Saturn-Pluto conjunction is valid already, not when you had the exact degree of the conjunction, but already when Saturn is entering the sign of Pluto. And this happened in November 2017. And I will tell you something. In 2017, there is a TED talk of Bill Gates, who is saying, and this TED talk is openly to be found on YouTube everywhere you can see it. People were sharing it now all over internet. And this was from 2017, I think. And Bill Gates was saying that there will be a virus spread, and he was explaining details about this virus. There are also opinions that this virus is funded by his foundation. And he was the one who he was explaining openly in a TED conversation, in a TED talk in 2017. This is probably showing the beginning of this agenda, because in 2017, in November, Saturn entered the sign of where Pluto is, and this was Sagittarius. And with this, Saturn and Pluto are already exchanging energies. In the Babylonian astrology, already when two planets are in the same sign, it's a conjunction by sign, not by degree, but by sign. And later on in December, we had the exact conjunction when the thing exploded with the coronavirus. And also at this very moment, we had Mars, who is the major signifier of diseases and viruses. And he was in Antares. So how we have here the very heavy conjunction, Saturn-Pluto, which is pointing towards agenda that is something that started maybe before 2017, but maybe was announced in 2017 with this TED talk of Bill Gates. I don't know, but this is what I found on the internet. It found me, actually, on the internet. So if we leave this huge cycle of the virus, Saturn-Pluto, it's not promising, because it's as slow as you know, that if we look only at Saturn, 30 years he stays in one sign, and it is something that I forgot in how many years they meet, but it's rare meeting that they have 30 or something years. So
what's Saturn and which one?
Saturn and Pluto.
Saturn and
Pluto. When I was making my video, I mentioned it, and now I forgot exactly how. But it's a huge period of time they're marking, like the
36 years, I believe. Isn't it 36 years? Yeah.
Something like that. The thing is that it's already a huge cycle. Astrology is cyclic. If unfortunately we look at this cycle, this is something that can last. But let's look at the one who is really spreading it. Like, it is Mars. And then we have to look at the cycle, the cycle of Mars. Mars was in Antares. It was the peak when this thing exploded. It was when Mars was in Antares. Then he entered Sagittarius, where he's in his own triplicity, super powerful, and there he met Jupiter. So certainly he was very powerful. And when he enters Capricorn, this is not benefic conjunction, but and look, they're both super powerful, because Mars is entering Capricorn, where he is exalted, and Saturn is at home, where he's the king, and they are meeting there. Two powerful bad guys, meeting in Capricorn, both very powerful. I was looking in old texts how the ancients analyze this conjunction. It looks like a simple conjunction, but it's very tricky as well. Valens is saying this conjunction is dangerous, but it is about practicalities. So could be that practical measures are being introduced, maybe some that we may not like it also, because these are two malefic planets. Typically people who have Saturn Mars conjunction are experiencing difficulties in their lives, so it's never an easy conjunction, no way to be easy. But
and when is it exactly? When is it?
When was it? I was mentioning, now I don't have this chart. It is, I will tell you, Mars is entering on first. Well, Mars is entered already Sagittarius. He will stay there for approximately 1 month, and then he's entering the sign of Capricorn. And see, this is the thing, Zori, that it will be mixed stuff. Could be that some measures are being introduced. See what Susanna is saying.
Curfew. Could be, you know, what is already being introduced with the quarantines at home. It could be curfew. It could be, you know, there's already in Switzerland, people are not allowed to gather at public events. So these could be, you know, like military, and the military could support the containment of the virus in a way.
Yes, because look, Mars is he's the warrior, you know, and Saturn is the ruling class, is the ruling elite. They are meeting together also. Well, see, the thing is that this could be practical in terms of ruling, or in terms of putting some limitations on the spreading and maybe fixing it to a degree, but not in a positive way. This is malefic conjunction. So Susanna is saying the Emperor Saturn in his sword Mars, or we can say maybe his war leader. Yes, exactly. 9 of O's, happiness on your ascendant, this conjunction. Well, yes, depends how these planets are placed in your horoscope. Now, then you will know how they will influence you. It's not necessarily bad. It could be that it is putting some, you know, bringing you some practicalities in your life. Yeah. So yes, Zori. So this is how I see it. It may not be the end of the virus, but in any case, when we look at how this started, it started something that was planned in any case. So what can I say?
So people usually say, you know, Saturn, Jupiter is I mean, most people coin it as a positive conjunction. We've already seen with the examples that we gave that it's not always so.
I see it as a positive conjunction because Jupiter can, you know, his very benefic blessing in nature can be very helpful, but on the other hand, it is also a conjunction of power, really, extremes, to extremes. Jupiter, Mars, Pluto conjunction. It is creating the nature of a royal star of power, of the army leader. So you can see it's important how this can be. These energies will be used in this particular case when it comes to applying power, and on a mundane chart, it's not very benefic for the people. The benefic position for the people is Venus with the moon on the horoscope of the vernal equinox. So this can be, we see, the thing is that yes, there is some agenda that we don't exactly know about, hidden, Saturn invisible, you know, but there is always balance in the nature, right? It can't be always malefic. You have also Venus, you have also Jupiter, you don't have also Saturn, only Saturn and Mars, right?
Sure. I mean, and for every solution and every discovery that's ever been done, you know, at the beginning, usually it's a positive, and then some negative aspects show up, or vice versa. So
also
it's what we make out of it in the end. Humanity,
and also if you remember exactly what you said, it makes me think of the changes that were introduced in 1989 on the Balkans in Bulgaria, and I remember how people would embrace the new democracy, and they would make parades on the streets, and there would manifestations, and people were happy, including me. It was like we were so excited with the new era. And it turned that this was illusion, another illusion. So I don't know what to say. For sure there will be change. There will be shift in the world, the way we know it now. And here in the ancient set, let me find. You know, Abu Mashar, Mashawa, these amazing authors, they gave examples of events like which happened, second. Like one is the birth of Jesus, they say, happened on such conjunction. Even some ancient authors made analysis of the possible, how you call this in English, the potopa, the Diuvia.
What happened?
Yes, the potopa.
When the Ark of Noah, the Ark of Noah was built.
Yes, so this
the Great Flood.
The Great Flood. Yeah, yes. So this was one of the versions. We cannot prove. We don't know, but major shifts historically happened. And I couldn't expect that always this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction will bring them, especially when changing triplicity. Zori, what do you think? When with this possible change, the way we see it, with this complete shift in economy, possible recession, because we're seeing the volatility that will take place only when you look at Mars and Venus, it's obvious. And when you look at what will be happening with the real estate markets, with the retrograde planets, and what is happening now with the gold, because when there will be volatility and insecurity, it's logically that's, by the way, this steady position of Saturn and Jupiter for sure will bring increase in gold. That is something that is astrologically also proven. What is the possible business that people can do apart from probably agriculture, because Saturn is the lord of the agriculture?
You know, business is, it's all about your personal inclination, about your gifts. You can do almost any kind of business. If it's aligned to you, you'll have energy to execute it. If it's not, you'll fail even at the most prosperous business. So since we don't know how exactly things will pan out, I can't say go invest. I'm also not an investment analyst. So what I can say for sure is that whatever is on your path, it's a question of discovering what you're good at, of discovering what you have developed throughout your lifetime that you can combine with innate skills that you have and make it happen. I really can't say this is a good business to go into, but for sure, I mean, we've already discussed last year that everything is pointing towards businesses of spirituality, businesses of psychology, of healing even. This will be more and more developing and upcoming. I mean, for sure, the world needs healing. If the happiness index, as I told you, in the US is worse than it was in the 60s, you know, it's just one example. People in general feel miserable. This whole inequality brings a lot of negative emotions in people. What else could be good? Everything that we talked about that is related to Capricorn, but it's also related to spirituality. Anything with crystals, anything with agriculture. Now,
agriculture, very much agriculture. Saturn is the ruler of agriculture. He was since Babylonian times, very much.
Yeah. And so the opposite of Capricorn is where you shouldn't invest, and where also it would be problematic, as you said, around summertime, when we talked about the bursting of the real estate bubble. So anything represented by Cancer, probably manufacturing would probably go down, because this is what Cancer represents.
Yes.
Oh, Mars in Cancer. Is Mars going to be there?
No, at that time, no. At that time, not. But these, the retrograde planets already.
So yes. I take this back about manufacturing, because I'm not 100% sure whether it was Cancer or Mars in Cancer that represents manufacturing. I have to check that again.
But in any case, during this period when Saturn, who is ruling the real estate, he's the one, when he will be retrograde and he will be making opposition to Cancer, which is exactly the home, this business. People need to be careful during this period and think how to invest and what to do. I am also not specialist in this, but astrologically you can see, and especially when we're having new cycle of Saturn, if we follow his steps, we'll see how these particular areas which he's covering will develop. Same with Mars.
So I'd say if you have real estate to sell it now. It will be devaluated.
Probably yes. Especially until 10th of October, when Saturn is turning direct and Jupiter 19th or 17th of September or something like that. Yes. Okay. Let's see if there's some interesting. There are comments. If there's some questions. Trump has been buying gold, of course, aiming at ending central bank and IRS treasury notes backed by gold. Yes. Yes, Susanna is saying knowledge. Yes, knowledge-based market. Yes.
Aiming at ending central bank scenarios. Yeah, this is possible. I also read something like that.
Hi, Sonia. Sonia, how can we bring back the sunshine? Oh, you know, one Bulgarian teacher, Eleazar Harash, we're following it together with Zori, saying that the happiness is in ourselves. You don't need someone to make you happy. We should work on that, you know, to be happy, to create with the spirit world, to welcome the sun. So that's the way it goes, I believe. No one else can make you happy if you're not. That is what I think. Okay, I think, Zori, we can end this now and we can speak again. Maybe we're preparing for the cryptocurrencies. It's a huge topic, which is difficult to prepare for because we do not have historical examples to, you know, to see how certain astrological aspects worked historically. So we really need to analyze this very carefully, and then
it's going to be a tough task.
Yes, but we have to, because it's very interesting. So thank you, Zori. I think we can close now and we talk again soon.
Thank you, Krasi. It was a pleasure.
Pleasure.